Charlotte Soccer Show. John Hayes, Danny Brams. We're back here at Madison Perk Coffee Bar in South End, right down South Boulevard. I don't know if it's South End. Let's call it Loso.
This is Loso. This is what I would call Loso. We're down at Tyvola range, so yeah.
But the reason why we're back here is because if it ain't broken, don't fix it.
Exactly. Right.
And we talked here before a massive match, before some would argue the biggest match in club history. And I've been saying this a lot lately, Danny. It's the biggest match in club history until the next game.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, the next one is now bigger. I think we've definitely said that on the show before. This is kind of the equivalent of like wearing the lucky socks. Like, hey, we won a big match. I'm just wearing the same socks.
Yes.
We're back at Madison Park. Had to.
Hey, superstition. You can say it's a real thing or it's not. I think in athletics, I think superstition is 100% real.
Yeah,
I think it is.
Well, mindset is 100% real, and
yes.
so confidence is a big deal. We were just talking about players losing confidence here before we started recording, and superstition can feed confidence and mindset. So yes, it is real. 100%.
So let's talk about the win. We've got TFOS questions coming up from a bunch of great questions from a lot of good friends of the show,
right. And we're wired up, baby.
Yeah,
we're ready to fire back at you with the strong brews here at the Perk.
Love a cold brew, especially on a nice fall morning with a little bit of crisp in the air.
I know. I'm about to make the switch from ice to hot. I'm just about to make that daily, because I have a coffee every morning, so I'm a coffee guy. So yeah, I might switch to hot.
I am a iced coffee man when I go out and pick up coffee, and I'm a hot coffee man at home.
That's a great split.
You get the best.
That's how you do it.
Best of both worlds. Absolutely best of both worlds. And I kind of want to. I want to talk about this win to start in a way that maybe will surprise you.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to be surprised, because 4 days later, I'm still soaking it all in. It can't be understated how massive of a win this was.
Yeah, and you could feel it. We were at the Crown Legacy match on Sunday afternoon, and despite the Crown Legacy loss against Columbus Crew 2 in that playoff match, nobody really cared that much because of the result on Saturday night and the feeling that the season was a success. It's a development program, and that development program is going to continue into the future, and
right.
And it worked this year. There was players on that legacy team who made an impact for Charlotte FC during the season.
Yeah, a very huge impact. One of the coolest things about Sunday was that I was able to just see Brandon Cambridge face to face and say, "Hey, Brandon, that we wouldn't be here without you, man, because we would not be in this position without his 2 goals that saved the 3 points against Chicago mid-season."
Yeah, and he was mentioned on the Apple broadcast because they were talking about how Charlotte FC earlier this year got 2 late goals from Brandon Cambridge in a comeback win against Chicago at home.
Right. I mean, our playoff hopes are on. They went from life support to all of a sudden alive and kicking here with this most recent win against Chicago, but they would never have even made it to life support without the first win against Chicago, courtesy of Brandon Cambridge.
So let's just set the stage quickly about where the table is. I think most people know, but if you win the next 2 matches against Miami, you're hosting the 8th place game.
Amazing.
At the Keep. So things have changed drastically in that regard. The 9th place game was the hope, and now all of a sudden 8th place becomes a possibility if you win these next 2 games against a messy list Miami, most likely. We can get into that conversation as well. But all of a sudden it feels real. When you talk about winning 4 in a row, it's really difficult, but I know this sounds like coach speak, but 1 game at a time really changes things. You get that win against a shitty team like Toronto, and all of a sudden it's 3 in a row.
Yeah.
And then you pull an upset on the road against Chicago, and it's only 2 games now in a row. I don't even consider it winning 4 games in a row because the 2 wins are already in the past.
Right. And you win the next one. That's called a winning streak. It has happened before. It has. And I think it's just crazy. I have to admit, I'm so vibed and jazzed on this win against Chicago in Chicago. A, because the way in which we did it, we were dominant start to finish. It was just the system came together. B, I'll admit, I had given up after the New England loss. I pretty much gave up. That was my point of okay, yeah, we have 5 games left, but who cares? Or 4 games left after this, but I don't think we can win any of them the way this team is playing. They found something against Toronto, and like you said at the beginning of this episode, confidence feeds it all. And yes, Toronto's a bad team, and yes, maybe we didn't want to make too much, and yes, Chicago's not that great of a team, but Chicago was in pretty good form and coming off of a huge win themselves, and so the confidence of beating a bad team allows you to beat a little bit better team, and then you get 3 or 4 wins in a row. Find yourself in a playoff game, maybe you can win a playoff game. So like it all feeds. There I go losing the thread of the one game at a time. Though.
Well, we Danny, we talked about on the last show. We talked about how mentally Saturday night's game might be a little difficult for Chicago.
Yeah, right. That was a letdown spot for them.
And that's exactly what happened.
Right.
There was no buzz in that building compared to what it looked like on Wednesday night.
Right.
The players, just a few days later, felt like they had to get up and go do it again after a historic result. And meanwhile, Charlotte FC is coming to town feeling great about themselves. Mm-hmm. And what ends up happening, and this is where I want to start the conversation about this game, what ends up happening is Charlotte FC keeps a clean sheet for the second straight match.
Yeah.
And we can talk about Swiderski's goal streak. We can talk about the offense playing well. We can talk about 5 goals in 2 matches. But what about 0 goals in 2 matches?
It's so clutch.
That's how you win soccer matches.
Right.
And that's been our issue in the entire season. Right. Giving up goals at the wrong time. Mm-hmm. We've scored goals this season. There's no doubt about it. There was a time during the inaugural season where we were literally counting minutes up until like the 200s where we hadn't scored a goals.
Yeah.
Scoring goals hasn't been an issue for the squad this year.
No.
Giving up goals has.
Right.
And at the
wrong time.
Exactly.
Like you said, yeah.
And at the most important time of the season, Christian Colina steps up, and this defense steps up and provides 2 clean sheets.
Burn, baby, burn, man.
Yes.
You're in Nathan's Inferno at this point. Like what we've realized is like we have an identity in defense now,
yes,
which is we play the high line, we get the extra man and try to control the ball in midfield, and when we lose it, we count on Nathan Byrne running back there and tackling somebody before they get a clean shot off against Colina. It's worked pretty well for the last couple of games, so I don't mind. And you need that. Like Byrne is a guy who we were critical of. We wondered what his role was on this team and like, why did we sign this guy and what can he give us? Well, we found what he can give us. It took some time.
I think I famously said on the show, like, Nathan Byrne and Harrison Alfel, like, I'm good. I don't need to see.
Yeah.
I was right on one, wrong on the other.
Right, exactly.
Harrison Alfel proved to us in that game against Inter Miami in Leagues Cup that his legs are just not there anymore. Mm-hmm. And Nathan Byrne, his legs are there.
Oh yeah,
he can move.
Burn, baby, burn. Nathan's Inferno. Burn.
You were singing that to him on Sunday at the Crown Legacy match, and he had a smile on his face as wide as the goal mouth. I mean, it was absolutely awesome to see him.
I got to sing that. I got to sing the Derek Jones. It's got it going on to Derek. I don't know. I'll sing these guys' songs to their faces. I don't care.
Everybody looked like they were having a great time. Shout out to the first team for showing up there.
And you know who else I got to see?
Who?
The captain, of course. And I said, Captain, I don't want to interrupt you. You're with your family. He was on his way out after the match. I said, I gotta give you another handshake for that golazzo, man. That he picked it out of the air. That clean, fizzing volley. Like, of all the things to come out of Chicago, we almost buried the lead yet again. Of like, what a goal from the captain. And like, when we needed it most, like, we were dominating that game, but we weren't. It was another game where the end product wasn't necessarily showing up, and the Karol Swiderski communication issues were bubbling to the surface again. And Ashley Westwood, the captain, like, this is like, I knew at one point there was just going to be a spot where Westwood did something fucking amazing to win a match for us, and they finally hit.
You mentioned the Enzo Capetti, Karol Swiderski communication, and I think a lot has been made of this, and the question of whether they can coexist. I'm willing to say that the answer is yes, because they've played together the last 2 matches, and Charlotte FC's won both matches.
Yeah. Okay.
So, like, really, when you think about a results-based business, like, yes, they can coexist because they're getting results. But there was one moment that I feel like I wanted to call out, and it was when Swiderski stepped up to take the PK. Mm-hmm. Capetti was nowhere to be found on the 18-yard box. He was about 30 yards away from the spot, and when Karol slotted that ball home, Copetti had both hands in the air, and he was happy. But let me ask you a question: what if the goalkeeper would have saved that? What if there was a rebound opportunity, and Copetti was 30 yards away, not giving a fuck, not making an effort to slot that rebound back in?
How many times do we see it? You know, the quick score right off a rebound off a PK save, for sure. That's just confidence. You know, he just knew Karol wasn't going to miss. He knew there was no chance Karol would miss. I guess.
I think that's
a good point you bring up, though.
You know, I just think that's Enzo Copetti in a nutshell. I think he's living in his own world. He's doing his own thing, and he's not doing everything right all the time. He's going to be where he wants to be on the pitch.
Right.
He's not thinking, whoa, what's next? Where should I be here? What is the right thing to do? All he thinks about is where I want to be and what I want to do.
He's not horrible. He's not perfect. He's somewhere in that zone. I think, you know, the sort of prevailing narrative that's sort of emerging as I talk to Charlotte FC fans all over the town is like, we know Karol's on the way out. Let's just see what happens this year, but then let's let Karol go, make some money, and let's build around Copetti for next season and let this become Enzo's team fully next year. And to be honest, I'm fine with that. Let's do it. You know, if that's the way it ends up working out, it's great. I mean, Karol's given us a good 2 years. We're still in the playoff chase. We're still talking about that, but it's just like but even in this great game, even in this great win and this great victory that like put everything back on track for us and like kind of made us the Undertaker gif of like popping up out of the coffin, like there was still that underlying issue. And I said something like, I think on at For the Crown Baby Twitter, I posted like, the Karol Copetti drama continues to be the best side story to the Charlotte FC playoff change, which is the best main story in MLS right now. And it's just like it's kind of funny. Like we'll never really get away with it. Maybe that's my bias because maybe no one outside of Charlotte cares about either of those stories. But you know what I'm saying.
Well, I promise you this: no one outside of Charlotte gives a fuck about Charlotte FC. I promise you that.
Yeah, Andrew Wiebe reminds us of that all the time. Yeah.
But you know, can these two players coexist? And my answer is a resounding yes.
I don't think so.
Well, here's why I say that is because I don't give a fuck whether they coexist next year or not.
You're thinking short term.
Yes. Yeah. I'm just like, can they coexist on Wednesday the 18th? And my answer to that question is yes.
If Karol's back in country by then. Yeah.
And for what it's worth, I do expect him to be.
Okay.
I do. If Karol Swiderski misses out on that match in Miami, I'll be very disappointed.
All right. So, but here's whether or not they can coexist, I think it's not going to matter because they're not going to need to next year. One way, they've only got ceiling. I think 7 or 8 more games max that they're going to have to. If we go on a run.
Here's what it is, Danny. It's a short-term fling. Everybody around both Karol Swiderski and Enzo Copetti, each of them have their own camps.
And it's a short-term fling based on hate sex,
exactly. And what they're saying is like, we kind of get it. You guys are attracted to each other.
Right. You hate each other, but you're the 2 hottest people here. You have to bang.
Yes, 100%. But the people that they really trust are both telling them like, this isn't going to last.
Yeah.
So just be prepared because it's going to eventually come crashing down. But maybe in the short term it can work just because they call it the honeymoon phase of any relationship. And yeah, these players have been part of the organization together. They've been at the facility together, but they haven't spent a lot of time on the pitch together. And when they can get on the pitch together and they can make it happen, and they both do have the same, I think, goal for the remainder of the season, which is to play minutes.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing. Right?
Right.
They're not stealing minutes from each other, and I think that would be a major issue. If Karol Swiderski was starting at the striker and Enzo Copetti was still sitting on the bench, it'd be worse than it would be with both of them.
Right. That's what they tried that right out of the Leagues Cup when Enzo came back from the injury. Right. They tried to have Enzo sub in for Karol. That was wasted minutes for sure.
Yeah.
So the whole drama is basically based around the PK, right? And it's like Enzo played a really strong game for the most part. He played really well. He created a lot of chances for others. He tried to take some chances himself. He drew the PK.
Yeah.
He got under the Chicago guy's skin. The PK was a total frustration. Like in fact, Enzo kind of like bull charged into the guy and then fell down, and the guy was like mad at Enzo for bull charging into him, and then Enzo got back up and ran past him after the fall down. And the guy was mad and tripped him. So it's like,
what a stupid foul.
Yeah, it was really bad. I thought that should have been a red. I know they don't do double jeopardy, but it was like, man, that was really cynical. I wouldn't have minded a red on that one and the PK, but The thing was, everyone's like, oh, Enzo earned it. Enzo should take the PK. He's earned it. Karol took 2 in a row last game. Why doesn't he give one up? And I get that. I understand that. And I think I get the argument. I'm not going to argue necessarily against that point of view if you strongly feel that opinion. But I'll say this. Karol's the PK taker on the team. Karol's the designated PK taker by the captain, by the coach. And it's like, why change that up when you're only up 1-0 against Chicago, when you're only up 1-0 against Toronto? Like, you need that 2-goal lead. And Karol's been given the responsibility to do it. He takes that responsibility. He takes it very seriously. And I know Enzo wants goals. I almost think the debate of Karol versus Enzo for PKs is getting lost in the minutia of individual stats when we all need to be team oriented. And it's like, hey, we have procedures on the team. We have protocols. When there's a penalty, Karol Swiderski grabs the ball and puts it under his arm and slots it in the corner. Like, that's just the way it goes. And it doesn't really matter what individual stats anybody might be chasing.
And I sometimes I'll be critical of myself for making too many Tottenham references on the show. But, like,
have at it.
You know, it's like
the game is about glory.
When Spurs earn a PK, and for the last 10 years, there's been one fucking guy who takes it.
Yeah.
And because he makes them. It was Harry Kane. That's what he did.
Right.
He was the best PK taker on the team. No matter who earned the PK, Harry Kane took the ball, put it on the spot, and converted.
Right.
And that is and what I'm trying to say is,
I'm sure Son would love to have 10 or 15 more goals on his ledger over the years, but it just doesn't happen.
Yes, it doesn't, because that role on a squad exists.
Right.
And Enzo, sorry, that's not your position.
Maybe next year.
Maybe next, but Karol has this.
Yeah.
And one of the things I wanted to put out, is it the woman that was doing
the analysis on Apple?
Analysis
Kendra.
on Apple.
Kendra St. Alban.
Yes, thank you.
She's Canadian, man. She was hating us, dude. She's way too Canadian.
Well, I'm not being critical. I actually wanted to give her props.
She was loving on Chicago and hating on Charlotte. She was way too close to the border for me.
Well, I want to give her props for. There was a free kick in the first half where both players. It was just outside the 18, and Copetti was setting up to hit a right-footed swinger into the top right corner, and Karol was setting up to hit a left-footed swinger into the left top corner. And Kendra was just like, what are these guys going to do? Are they going to both strike it simultaneously at the same time?
Yeah, because Enzo didn't move. Enzo didn't leave. He even made like a 2 steps of a fake run towards it, too.
And I want to give her props for that comment, because it showed that she was doing her homework.
No, she did a great game. I didn't mean to talk down. And I love Canada. Hopefully I have some Canadian TFOS out there for sure.
She was doing her homework.
I sang "Oh Canada" at the Toronto match under my breath, So.
But I think we can ultimately. And for what it's worth, Enzo and Karol both not at the match on Crown Legacy match.
Yeah. They don't. I've never seen either of them at any extracurriculars.
Yeah.
But most of the team did show. There's a lot of guys.
Our third DP, there was a DP there though.
Yeah. Camille was there.
Camille Yuziak was absolutely there.
And Camille was there, like, basically, like, playing Uncle of the Year to Jan Sabaczynski's baby. It was really cute to see. And it was just like the vibe on Sunday was amazing, especially after a big win like that. But we got to talk, dude. Okay, we talked about the controversy, but I brought this up earlier. I need to hear from you.
About what?
About the gemstone. About Westwood's Golazzo, man. Like, what did it mean to you, like, to see, like, this captain that, like, because not everyone has embraced Ashley Westwood from the time he joined this club, but I feel like you and I have always embraced him because we knew the Premier League pedigree he brought. And he's had other great moments in the season, but I just felt like Saturday night was, like, a defining, like, no one else on our team could have done what he did. Not even Karol.
I'm going to do a faux pas, and I'm going to say something on a podcast that you never should say, because it might insult some people in your audience. But I mean this dead seriously, and I feel this way. And if this hurts somebody's feelings, then too bad. But, like, I have been very confident, and from the beginning of this entire project, the Charlotte FC MLS project, that there's just a lot of supporters that don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like, seriously. And when I hear some of the criticism, and I see what some people say, it makes me think that maybe Charlotte FC is the first time they've ever really went all in on learning players, watching every match, and understanding how a season unfolds. and what value you can bring to the pitch, and this is a Brandt Bronico discussion too, right? Is that newer soccer fans, hey, welcome to the party. But there's certain intangibles on a soccer pitch that are fundamentally real. And those intangibles are leadership, those intangibles are experience, and those intangibles are fitness. And lastly is the ability to put a touch on the ball that is very classy. And what that goal was just pure class. And there's only certain people that can pull something off like that. And Ashley Westwood has always been able to pull off a goal like that. And to be critical of him and act like he's somebody that is boring.
He's not shooting ball
that
enough.
Doesn't do anything on the pitch. It's because you're not watching the right things. It's because all you're thinking about is scoring goals in soccer. And I get it. That's the fun part of the game. But sometimes these games are 1-1. And sometimes these games are 0-0. And so, and Ashley Westwood is making a huge impact on this squad in the midfield position. And by the way, so is Brandt Bronico. You know why Christian Latanzio doesn't take him out of the lineup? Because Brandt Bronico has possibly, and this is a massive statement, he might be one of the he might be a top 5 fit player in MLS.
Right, in terms of work rate, and like Grindset is more than just a hashtag. It's like literally this
real.
Guy's way of life.
It's like how he survives
Right.
in this league. It's how he survives in this profession.
Right.
If there was a FIFA rating for fitness, Brandt Bronico would be 99.
Right. He leaves the training pitch every day and drives up to Lake Norman and builds and like flips houses. He's like doing demo and remodeling work. Like he never stops working. This guy doesn't go home and play video games. You know what I'm saying?
And this is another part of this too. And again, I
want to say something about Bronico just to follow up on what you said, which is I've had this debate with people online, in person before. And I had it recently with someone who I don't know their name. They were an anonymous. We were in a Charlotte FC fan Discord, so just some username. So I don't know this person's real name, but they were saying, well, hard work is the default. Every player that's here is a hard worker. What the differentiation between players at this point is just where in skill level.
No,
it's like Bronico. Why are you patting Bronico on the back for working hard? Like, everybody works hard or they wouldn't be here. Like, he's just not talented enough to be on the pitch on a professional soccer team. We need 11 talented guys out there. And this guy was making this case to me, and I just kept thinking to myself, you could not be farther off.
Yeah.
It's the exact opposite. Your talent level is the default that gets you here. You have to have a certain talent level to get here, and then it's your hard work and your work rate that differentiates you. He had the exact flipped, and I was like just laughing to myself as I was talking to this guy.
Yeah.
And Bronico's elite at the hard work.
And one thing that and I hope I haven't gone down this road too far, but I feel like sometimes I want to give the supporters kind of a dose of reality. And what it is like the level of play is very important here when discussing players. For example, in MLS, the type of characteristics and player that it takes to have success is going to be much different than the type of player that it takes to have success in Liga MX and the type of player that it has to have success in the J League. It's like there's in the Scottish Premier League. There's different leagues all over the world that are very similar to MLS, but the playing styles are very different. And in MLS, experience, work rate, and the ability to have strength is paramount. And for what it's worth, that's why Enzo Capetti's kind of a badass, and why I don't mind the fact that he's playing right now. And after the Toronto match, it was the first time ever as a new phrase I want to use for myself on the show, and I want to call you this too, a fanalist.
I love it. Yes.
As a fanalist for this club, it was the first time where I realized that, like, Enzo Capetti's going up to Chicago, and he's just gonna fucking knock people all over the pitch.
It's pretty much what he did.
And right now, that's exactly what I want. Just what I've always been concerned about is his ability to pick up yellows, his ability to possibly get a red, silly yellow, 2 silly yellows and a red. So that's the one thing I'm concerned about. Remember what I used to call TT Ortiz a walking red card?
Yeah,
right?
Enzo
Competti's like a bit of a walking red card.
But he's a running red card. That's the difference. Enzo never stops running. And even as upset as Enzo can be about whatever, perceived slights are going on in his head or main character issues are happening for him, he never stops working hard, and he's constantly I've seen him many times where he'll just be like, the ball will go to the keeper and it's like a 30-yard sprint just to put nominal fake pressure on the keeper, and Enzo, he kind of just here we go again. He just rolls his head across his neck and starts chugging at the keeper. He's like, this is pointless, but I'm going to do it because it's that maybe it gives me that 2% chance of just threatening the keeper and throwing him off his game. And so Enzo puts in the work, and you cannot ever fault that. I think that's why I think that's one of the reasons Enzo's army loves him, and that's one of the reasons that even people who don't really like him have to at least appreciate and respect him.
And to wrap this conversation full circle, I vehemently believe that Charlotte FC would not be in this position without Ashley Westwood.
Yeah.
I think we call him the gemstone to start the season. The centerpiece of this starting 11, the person that is in the center of the pitch, that is making things happen. He's the person that is at the orchestra. Who's the guy that holds the wand?
The conductor. The maestro.
He's the maestro. Yeah, exactly right. That's who he is for this squad, and it was really nice to see. And just to, I think, further explain why this Copetti-Swiderski partnership is so important is because the only reason why Westwood has all that space is because Copetti and Swiderski are taking up space right on the penalty spot, right on the 6, and they're requiring so much defensive attention with the two of them being in the box. It allows a midfielder just to sneak up right in behind, take the space, and score a goal. That's exactly, I think, how tactically this squad's supposed to work.
That's how we score. What happened on Saturday in Chicago was we get an attack built up, a nice attack. We build pressure. We've got guys all in place. We send a shot in. Doesn't result in a shot, but it pops way up in the air. The rebound just floats majestically down, and Westwood can just sit he's in all this space like you described, and he can just sit and watch that thing fall and just swing his foot through at the perfect instant and just fizz that thing low. Pure knuckle. That was like a rise ball in softball, a softball pitcher that throws a rise ball. It was like zoom, and then zipped up right at the end. So
it was a really special goal, and then of course in the second half, Swiderski gets it done from the PK spot, and here we are, a chance to play Miami. I want to call it a tie.
It's a tie. I love. That's a very European thing.
It's like this is what it is. We're tied to Miami.
Yeah,
we're playing them back to back. It's not back to back weeks. I think the Wednesday Saturday is kind of
crazy. It's like a double dip. It's almost like this is how Liga MX does their playoffs. Is they do home and aways within a couple of days, and they do 3 rounds in a row. They do that, so it's kind of crazy. I think. We spent all this time talking about Karol Copetti, and it's real, and the short-term fling does, there's a chance for a climax, but I'm not sure that Karol will be there for this next match, for the first Miami match. I don't think he will be available because I think he's going to log major minutes. It's not even so much him being in town. He can get here logistically. I just think he will have logged. I think he's going to play 150 out of 180 possible minutes for Poland on this international break and be just not really ready to go. So I think what I do think, as much as I love Karol, he's my favorite player on the team, I think he's pressing a little bit too hard. I know, I'm fine with him taking the PKs and insisting on holding the PKs, that's fine. There are times I've spotted he's a little bit slow to a pass. He's trying to dribble through double teams a little bit more than looking for the guy in some possession cases. So I just think he's and I don't question his motives, but I just think he's pressing a little too hard. So I think it'd be interesting to see what this team can do in a game where Copetti's the main offensive focus and Karol's not there. I think, and oh, by the way, I have zero issue because to my mind, you just slot Scotty Arfield in the starting lineup in that Karol spot, in that number 8 spot, and you're golden.
Oh, you know what?
And I have zero issues with that for a game. And then Karol comes back for the finale at home. all is well. Then Miami's not used to him. Then he's like a fresh element for the second matchup against Miami. So it's all playing well against us, so long as we don't have to deal with Messi.
You just reminded me that the one other point I wanted to make about the match, and I think you made a really good point there, and about Scotty Arfield, is that let's go back to warm-ups against Toronto. I was keeping an eye on Scotty Arfield. I was kind of disappointed that he wasn't in the starting 11 that match, and he and Justin Meram pregame were attached at the hip, knocking balls back and forth, enjoying each other's company, really developing a connection. And they both came in that match as a dual substitute that they could play together. And it happened again against Chicago, that Arfield and Meram came in together in that match. This is what I'm just calling this out so people know now. This is what the substitution pattern will look like for the remainder of the season. Scott Arfield and Justin Meram are the substitutes for this Charlotte FC squad. And they will come in and play together, and that connection is very, very important.
Yeah. And that warm-up was so funny because they both stayed. They were like the last two guys to go in at the end of the warm-up, too, for the final before the walkout. And they were like launching half-field shots.
Yeah.
And some clubby was having to shag balls for him. It was pretty funny.
I've been nervous because, when you're a veteran player like Justin Meram, when you're a veteran player like Scotty Arfield, and you know that you have the ability to be on this squad, I think Christian Lattanzio is actually doing a really nice job in man management with these two. There's clearly been a discussion that's been had where Lattanzio said, hey guys, you're not starting for me. Like, you're just not. But I love you both as players, and you're going to be my guys off the bench.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get you that 20 minutes at the end of every match. And who knows, maybe I might bring you in sooner.
Yeah.
And if you don't get 20, you might get 10, but you're coming in, and both of you guys are going to make a huge impact here. And I think that type of communication and that type of transparency, that's what players want and need.
Yeah, I hope that's happening.
And it seems like to me those two guys are pretty satisfied with that role.
I don't know exactly. Like, I imagine it playing out like you described. Who knows the exact details? But I've never questioned Christian Lattanzio's ability to man manage off the field. I've always said that's clearly one of his strengths. His players all love him. I just don't like his match day, pretty much, and that's why I still would be ready to move on from him. I think some TFOs probably still are. They're asking us, hey, is this a long-term hurt us if we don't? If we have a fake run here at the end, I don't know. But I do think what you say about Arfield is right. I do think Arfield starts for, if Karol was to miss, do you slot Scotty in to that starting 8?
I mean, yes, for sure, absolutely. He's going to sit in that
next
pocket.
Wednesday.
Yeah. And I think Vargas comes off. Brecht is on playing the left wing.
Right.
You're going to have Capetti up top. And then you have Camille down the right-hand side, and then Arfield sitting in behind 100%. Yeah. That's how you would do it. And by the way, shout out to Kerwin Vargas for putting in a great shift.
Played his ass off.
Stepping up, congratulations.
Created a ton of chances.
Brecht Diagde, congratulations. Missed the game for a personal reason. It was the birth of his second child.
I mean, you're missing games for the birth of your second child. I mean, come on, Brecht. It's not like this is your first child, bro. Come on, dude.
Oh, man. All right. It's time. We put out the call for TFOS questions. Hope y'all have enjoyed the show so far. Give us a follow on Instagram at Charlotte Soccer City. Make sure you follow us there, and you can ask us questions there. Or you can ask us questions on X at For the Crown Baby. There's a question here I want to start with from Rob Barnes.
Hit me, Rob.
He says, hey, what's the move next Wednesday for the final watch party of the season? He asks, EPR or BOA? Are they going to do it like a...
Yeah, the club is hosting a watch party at the stadium. I think that's the move. I think it's got to be the move. I love my EPR parties. I won't make a final decision, but I'm leaning BOA right now.
Okay, the reason why I asked that question is I didn't hear about the watch party at the stadium.
Yeah, it's happening.
Are they going to let people down on the pitch, like bring a blanket?
I don't know. I think, if I was to guess, I think it would be maybe just in the tap room, like they had the autograph signing event thing. It would just be in the concourse. But
okay, well, those
which would be
cool.
nice.
That would be cool
if they set up some bar stools that people could sit down.
Yeah, the problem is if you need to sit, you won't be able to sit in that situation.
But I could be wrong about that. Maybe they'll play the game on the Jumbotron and have everybody sit in the stands. I hope. That'd be cool, too.
Well, when we get back on this show...
Maybe they announced it and I haven't looked it up because I'm a lazy-ass motherfucker.
Well, I mean, Rob Barnes is the one who told me about it.
yeah, exactly.
So, cheers to you, Rob. And,
Fanalist.
We'll let you know the answer to that question. Not sure.
It's BOA for me, almost certainly.
Okay. Len Kornakia, Lenny Boy tweets in, before the last 2 wins, there was a lot of chatter about fans canceling / selling PSLs. Well, season tickets. What will the state of our fan base be next year? Good question.
Broke, because they all renewed their PSLs after the Toronto and Chicago wins. Now, I don't know. Hopefully, good. My whole thing is, if you don't want to renew your tickets, don't. But I don't need to hear about it. Announcing that I have decided to renounce my tickets. It's like the people that announce I'm leaving Facebook. Yeah. Here's a Facebook post to tell you I'm leaving Facebook. It's just like, whatever. I mean, make your own personal decision, but I don't need to hear about all the reasons that you don't want to spend money on the club anymore.
Yeah, it's like when the Boston Red Sox put Black Lives Matter on the Green Monster, and a bunch of Red Sox fans tweet, "I'm never going to a game ever again."
yeah.
It's like,
exactly.
yeah, you are, you fucking asshole.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's absurd. The kind of I'm not going to renew my tickets. I'm not going to go to a match ever again. I'm never watching this team on TV again.
Right.
No, you're just being emotional, and keep that to yourself because you know it's not true.
I am the type of person, you know this about me, John. I actually do take many principled boycott stands against a lot of entities, and I don't necessarily talk about it. I just don't have anything to do with those things that I don't like.
Daniel Torres tweets in, he says, "Is Melo ever coming back?"
No, I don't think so. I think Patrick Archibong ate Vinny Melo. We're never going to hear from him again.
I feel like this offseason we're going to have a conversation, and it's going to be with somebody, and they're going to tell us, just so you know, we got an ace in the deck here. Got somebody that nobody knows about, Vinny Melo. Because is there going to be another expansion draft this year with San Diego?
I don't know if it's this year or next year. My fault for not knowing that. I think it's next year, but okay. I do think Melo is probably future not with us, but still talented young prospect. He had that one beautiful ball. He helped us win a game as well with the pre-assist.
He was a very nice ball into the box there for sure. And by the way, I meant to say this when Len asked about the tickets. Personal news for me, I'm officially out of 342 into 130.
Wow!
So I've made a switch. I've made a switch myself, and I appreciate
that's fine. Yeah,
and I appreciate the club working with me and allowing me to do that with my tickets. I thought that was the right move to make, and it actually saved me some money.
So I like you talking about that. That we do talk about. Smart financial moves we talk about. Bitching we don't.
Brandon Davis chimes in. He says, "Were we all wrong? Is Lattanzio's style and tactics actually working?"
I don't know if we were all wrong. I still don't think Lattanzio's the right guy to be the matchday manager of this club. But I'm not going to sit here and focus on that when we're on a win streak and trying to be all focused on push towards the playoffs. I will temper my criticism and just say that the system can work, and when you play an inferior opponent, it looks good. I don't necessarily know that we're going to go in and beat Philly Union, FC Cincinnati, LAFC with this system. I think we could be more pragmatic in those type of matchups when we're overmatched, but the commitment to the system is real.
I will answer the question by saying no, we were not wrong. It's just nice when your best players play well. Mm-hmm. And that typically makes the manager look pretty good.
Yeah.
The next question by Life of Geslin. Matt Geslin chimes in. He says, "Is it two-parter?" And he asks, "Does a playoff run keep Lattanzio into next season? And is that the best option long term?"
Kind of, yeah. Again, no. I just see last answer. On that one. Again, I feel bad calling for. I'm not just going to sit here and make a campaign for someone's job, but I just think that I would love CL to be like our sort of player development director. He's excellent at it. I'd prefer someone else for the match days.
If you like European football, check out Full-Time Roundup. Solid show by Matt Geslin and Danny Brackets.
International break, no better time to check in with the Full-Time Roundup boys. I love that call.
And to answer this question, yes, of course a playoff run keeps Lattanzio into next season.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that did answer the question.
Is that the best option long term? I think that you could make the argument if Karol Swiderski leaves and Enzo Capetti is our outright number 9 striker. That's Christian Lattanzio's guy. He brought him into the club. Why not go into a season just with those two?
Yeah. I don't think it's a disaster. I don't think it's like, oh, we got to get rid of this guy or we're screwed. It's just he's just not the best to me.
But there was a record amount of managers fired this season in MLS,
and he kept his cheek. So and one of them is not.
What does long term even mean? I don't know. Long term even means starting next season, and if you lose your first 5 games, could be adios amigo.
There's 8 guys that have MLS managing experience on the market.
Real Matt Barbie tweets in, has Latanzio finally figured out that Jóźwiak has to start?
I don't think Jóźwiak has to start, so no. I think Camille plays really well. I know the stand. I know where that question's coming from, Matt Barbie, and I know, everyone loves the Polish Bulldog. He played really well. He was better. He played really well against Chicago. I don't, maybe it's a Polish thing. Who knows? But Callahan Auto Parts, I didn't think he played that well against Toronto. So he's hit or miss for me still. He had highs and lows.
I'll make a military reference here.
I love it.
And what I'll say is that when you go into a conflict and you are fighting for survival, you're going to go in with your heaviest artillery.
Yeah, that's great way to put it, yeah.
And with Christian Latanzio realizing that his job is literally on the line here in this last month of the season, I think that he's made a fantastic decision to say, fuck it. DPs, go play.
Right.
I'm not gonna be cute here and lose my job without just saying our best players go.
With all the salary on the bench, yeah.
Yes.
It's a great call, yeah.
Just go.
And I'll just continue that analogy by saying Camille, I'd love to have him in a foxhole anytime. I mean, he's a fighter. So, yeah, I love it.
100%. We mentioned DB's hot takes. Danny Brackets, he says, does Latanzio man-mark Busquets all game to discombobulate Miami's team, and will that be BB13? If so, this is a good question. I don't really want to get into tactics versus Miami now because we're going to have episodes later this week or early next week about this, but quickly, your take on that?
I hope Busquets doesn't even play.
Yeah, fair enough. Michael Volak, always great to hear from Michael. With the end of the regular season closing in, who do you feel is the club's MVP, most improved player from last season, and a player that didn't quite live up to expectations from the beginning of the year? This is a long question, and again, this is a great question for a post-season episode. So let's just pick one of the 3.
My MVP is Malanda.
Adilson Malanda, the Frenchman, the 21-year-old Frenchman, who
I'd have to think more on it, but just like gut level, ask me the MVP, boom, Malanda pops in my head.
You could make an argument, and this is going to sound silly, but he's not the MVP, and most valuable player is sometimes, to me, especially like a league's most valuable player. I always think it's more of like a popularity contest than anything else. But where would this back line be without Andrew Privet?
Right.
Like who would be playing that position? Jan Sobocop?
Or maybe Tuoloma. I know Sobocop has his stands. Sobocop was hurt at times. He was banging.
He was.
And remember, Privet was forced into that role due to a mid-game injury. His first appearance as a center back was as a sub as a center back. He didn't, and then he did so well that he earned the start the next match.
But Privet's not the MVP, but I'm just trying to make a point there.
Yeah.
You could make a. Right. I think you could pick 3 or 4 different guys for this.
And we just picked 2 center backs on a team that allowed the most goals in the league.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Well, let's be real. It wasn't their fault in the first half. It wasn't Privet's fault. In fact, when Privet came in, the defense got a lot better.
Great point.
That's the point.
Great point, yeah. Addy was banged up early as well. Thanks
for all your questions. If we didn't get to your question, we apologize. We'll make sure to get to it next time on the show. And we're definitely going to be coming back before the Miami match next Wednesday. Expect an episode, a full preview of that match. We'll get a deep dive. Maybe we can get a special guest on the show. You and I can do an episode, and then we can get a special guest on the show to talk about Miami as well.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk to the Battered Herons guys. I guested on their live stream ahead of the League's Cup match, and it was really fun.
Yeah,
had a really fun. Those guys were really fun. So maybe we'll get one of them.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, it's a great idea. We'll do something like that. And for now, it's been a great episode. Make sure you follow the show on Instagram at Charlotte Soccer City. Follow at For the Crown Baby on Twitter. Follow Danny Brams at Danny Brams.
And I would just say enjoy this week. Ride the vibes this week because we don't play again for another 7-ish days. 8
days as of this recording.
8 days as of this recording, yeah, depending on when you listen. We just won the biggest match in club history. Enjoy it. The 24-hour rule for the players, but not for the fans. The supporters, we get to revel in the fact that no matter what anybody says for the rest of this week, we're winners. And hold your head a little bit higher than you normally would, even, and try not to think about the Panthers.
The who? It's the Charlotte Soccer Show. John Hayes, Danny Brams. It's been an absolute pleasure hanging out with everybody this season on this show, and realistically, and I was thinking about it this week, especially with some teams in MLS, their season already being over, a lot of them only having one match left on decision day, Charlotte FC only having one home match remaining, fan appreciation night. I mean, this ride is almost over. We're near the end of the line for the 2023 season. So take it day by day, try to enjoy it, and
don't forget to pay as you pay.
Pay as you pay. John Hayes, Danny Brams, and as always,
for the crown, baby.